I believe we are live. How's everybody doing? D22 here, back with another watch list. Why is this thing not popping up for me? It says live, but I can't see it yet. Okay, there it is. Alrighty, so busy day, lots of action on my end, tons of trades. Still kind of running scans here in the background, but I will go over a trade reviews and then start making a watch list here, and then we can skedaddle. So I'll go down alphabetically. APLD, first one. Big picture breakout. I had bought it on this day and stopped out, and then I didn't fall for the same thing where it pushed, and this was the same move that stopped me out, and it never reclaimed VWAP. And then once we did, I bought the breakout, and once we cleared out, held, proved, then I started to join that trend. Added a little bit into close, so I've got about 2 hour risk off a low a day. Ideally, just get a gap up, follow through, maybe get an 18 to 20 move, and then look to move on there. Caterpillar. A few of these large caps were put on my radar this morning. I was just filtering through just daily charts that were in a range this morning. I noted some relative weakness in a few names, and Cat being one of those, where we pulled back and then started to tighten and flag. And this 407 line I felt like was fairly key. It lined up with the 50-day was at 400, 50-day moving average. And this is consolidating below the 10 and 20. So it looked like it was good enough to roll over. And I just wasn't patient for it to actually break down. I just hit it right off open. It reclaimed, I stopped out, tried it again. It didn't even break that key level. I just wasn't patient for opening range breakdowns, so unnecessary losses there. EQ, I'm still in this one. That 120s trigger was on the watch list, and just joined that one a couple times, a couple entries. I didn't see it right away on this swipe, and I saw it over here, and I was like, oh damn, I don't want to chase highs, so I just waited for some sort of a pullback, got involved, and then added into the afternoon once we got that high a day break, and then I added once I felt comfortable moving risk to those 120s. ETHZ, this one here, I've lost about 3R trying to bounce this thing now at this point. So I've it's blacklisted at this point. I just can't continue to give money back on it on something that isn't working. I tried it over here and lost, and then I tried it twice over here and lost, just to see it start pushing higher, the same kind of thing into the afternoon. Exact same action. You get the stuff, pull back, double bottom, grind back, and I fought it, forced a bias, and it was not a good trade. Jobby. This swing is still working. Went down into the 15s. I had locked some in there today and scaled around a core. Covered some into the gap down in pre-market, and then rescaled once we failed 1630s. We had 2 pops that failed, so I re-added looking for that new low a day, and then had about 2R risk off a high a day. So I locked some in and re-put some on there into midday, and so far just letting the trade work. I think gaps should get sold off into these 16s. That's what I'd like to see anyways, but a stop for me would be if it reclaimed 17, up over here 1680s. I'd have to move on, but ideally just continues to fizzle out. MSFT, some notable relative weakness on this name today. Same kind of setup as Cat, but the difference being that I waited for this 518 to actually break down. Negative reaction to earnings, started to tighten and flag. We got this sideways base through 518s. So I joined that trend once it failed 518s and added to that one, got a full risk off a high a day. And we'll look to swing this one towards 500 or so ideally, down towards the 50-day moving average. MSTR, I tried this one once, but no dice. Under an opening range breakdown, started to fail and then came all the way back, so I stopped out, small loss. NNE, same kind of thing, tried it once. I was looking for that 34 fail, and we got it, but it was just straight down right off the open, so I waited for some sort of pop to fail, leaned on it versus highs, and it just double bottomed and reclaimed, so I moved on, small loss. NVNI, I'm just still in that one, but it's not doing anything. I'm just going alphabetically. Tesla, I bought that one today. The sell was just because I did a miscalculation and added a 0. So I had bought versus wide risk and then added, got up to a full 2R risk off of like 320. And I added a 0 by accident, so I just took off the excess of the position, but I'm still swinging it. Bought that one into close. Popped, failed, consolidated, and then massive rip here into the afternoon. I didn't want to chase it through 10, so I bought pullback sub 10, and so far just letting this trade work. It's the first time in quite a while that it's had a strong close, and now that it's closed over 10, looks like we could be in for something like this, ideally. And X4, another small loss here. The main loss was really CAT, because I tried it twice. That was a full-size loss, and then ETHZ. Other than that, everything was plus or minus flat. Some of the stuff I locked in made up for some of the small losses I cut, but ETHZ was just the bad one today. I was fighting it. This one here, I kind of anticipated that 320s break. I didn't wait for it to break. I was like, oh, it looks like it's going to go, and I just bought it. But what I did do right was, once I was wrong, I didn't stay wrong and fight it. I just took it off right away. Did I get stopped out? Oh, I just touched on that one. No, I haven't. It hasn't broken my risk level yet. Risk level being this little trend line here. So we've got lower high, we got a push, higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. So what I need to see is a higher high before I'm going to add, but if it makes a lower low under 54s, then I'd have to move on. But until then, ideally I get a higher high and it starts to get going. Something like that. We will see. Jeff, Chris, Sam, Tina, Max. Hands off for you right now, waiting for a good runner. Would like to see Tanya get some more volume and run another day. Tanya. Oh yeah, that looks alright. 70 cents up to 140. Why is it up? Tanea Therapeutics. On the 11th. They were in a conference on the 12th doing presentations. I don't really see why it's up. There was earnings like, what day? On the 6th, like way back. So I don't really know why it's moving. The way that it gave back there into close was a 1 candle. Quite a bit of volume went off near highs there today. If that loses that 125, there's probably enough people bagged, but it's just not quite extended enough from the 4 EMA. 4 EMA sitting at 110. This is not enough meat, so I tend to agree with your thesis there. Let it go another day or two. But decent little look. XNet probably might interest you. Up from the 4s to the 8s. Same kind of thing. If it could just continue going higher for another day, that'd be really nice, but can't be too picky. Thoughts on the ETHC first green day? I'm done with that thing now. It has closed green, which takes it off my radar. I can only buy them if they don't close green, because now it's had its first green day today. So, but I tried it twice and I took too big of a loss on it today. Like 3.2 R. I read on it, on that name. So I am blacklisting it, and as a matter of fact, right now, I will ceremoniously delete it from my watch list. Whether it bounces tomorrow or not, I'm not going to touch it. Yeah, I took an L on it today. I think I had a couple buddies take losses on it today too. I think the setup was there. It's just it was just one that didn't work, and if you keep fighting them as they fizzle out, you're just fighting the backside of the move. I just was a bit too aggressive. That's all. XNet does really interest me. Why wasn't that on my scan? Fell through the cracks. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, it's looking good. Gap to gap to gap. Volume starting to pick up. Looks all right. Yeah, the ticker change probably didn't help either. You're right. I would tend to agree with you there. Let me finish running through some scans here. Open is probably worth putting back on watch because that thing's coming back. Something fierce. Let me delete all these, clean this up. $4 was key on the front side. Pretty impressive. Wow. I have no idea how to trade this at this point, but just keep it on watch. SNGX was the main runner today. Has never ran more than a day. You can see all of these volume wicks. Gap and fail, gap and fail, gap and fail, gap and fail. As early as a few weeks ago, gap and fail. And it held on all day just to fizzle out. And this is the kind of frustration that made me stop trading these gappers, because I'd take a loss, take a loss, take a loss, and see it right back to where it was to begin with. And it would just piss me off. Oh, wow, that chart looks really nice. Just no volatility, but the 200 moving average is right here at like 130s. And the 10 and 20 are right underneath it. It got super tight. It just barely moves, unfortunately, but that's a really nice looking chart. Oh yeah, there's Tanya on my watch list, or my scan, I should say. XNet. IPA little breakout. Doesn't look like it has much volume though. Up. Big wick save today. Not a ton of volume. Fossil, that damn thing pulled back today. Buggers. No need to watch that anymore. I've got so many positions on with swings that I'm not really sure I need to trade much more tomorrow. My attention, basically, I'm gonna try and set some stops at or near market open, and just try not to watch them as long as they are above my risk levels, is what I'm hoping to do. Tilray, low volume pullback on the daily. Meh. I don't love it. Tanya keeps popping up on a bunch of my scans. That's a green flag. Same with XNet. I keep seeing them on multiple scans here. Anything else you guys got on watch? You have your scanner set for 10 mil. When I'm scanning, I keep my volume requirement super low, and then I sort by volume so that I know as I get lower to the end of the list, I'm less likely to trade them, but I'll still flip through them. But I keep my intraday scanners a lot higher volume requirement. But when I'm doing pre-market scans or nightly scans, I have my volume super low. On this nightly scan, I've got like 500K. And then on my pre-market scan, I've got like $50,000 volume. But on my nightly scan, I've got like 500K shares. Just because I want to try and see everything, and then I can filter it with my eyes. Or like if I pull up something like Tilray and I look at the intraday, I'm like, oh, that thing doesn't really trade a ton. So then I don't have to look at it. But it still picked it up on my scan. Same thing with XNet. I want this to get picked up on my scan. And then if I look at it intraday, oh yeah, that trade's tight enough. Not like any of those random whipsaw candles back and forth. So as long as I can visually see that it's tradable, then I'm good. Those solar names continued higher today. Unfortunately, Gap and Go, Fissler for solar was the strongest. And like I said on the watch list, that was the nicest chart of the bunch, but it needed weak opens. And as a breakout should, it should gap up and continue. But I said on the watch list, literally verbatim, was like selfishly I'd like pullbacks, but I think it continues higher. So the ideal entry was right through here in like the 190s trigger on Friday, and I just wasn't around to see it. No sweat. What else we got? Hey Dawson, I was going through some old streams when you traded VOR on 7-8. Did I consider that a first red day move? VOR on 7-8. It would be a first red day because it did go red. But I think I took entries on it in the morning using that 320s guide, I believe. If my memory serves me correctly, I was looking for a pre-market high clear out that day. I think I have a fairly good memory for this kind of stuff. Yep. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I remember being on IU broadcast this morning, so if you're in Investors Underground, you can see the prep going into that day, but I was looking for that 320s clear out because we had prior day's highs and pre-market highs, and I figured everyone would be stopping out there. So I let it push, and I believe I shorted and got that pullback. So that entry I would classify as an overextended gap up, which is a subset of a first red day, but it's more of an anticipatory entry. Do you have a market cap size limit for shorting runners, or is it more about cost of borrows? I usually stay away from less than 25 mil. Borrow usually for borrow cost and swipe risk. A market cap size limit. I don't typically trade like those thin ones to the short side, like stuff like BMNR. When it's trading like this kind of range, I just find the risk is too great to be trying to short them. Same thing with SBET over here. they just trade too thin. So I just don't think the risk is there. So it's kind of like that volume answer to the question. Same thing with market cap and float, is sometimes you can have a smaller market cap, but it trades like a larger cap. But I prefer, like, my ideal trades are stuff like open, where they're low price but super high market cap, thick names that you just don't get those swipe candles. When I start seeing those swipe candles back and forth, like SNGX today, like, I wasn't super interested in trading this because you get candles like this. So even if you're like respecting risk and you wait, like, look at this, clear out through the highs, boom, through the highs, flush. Like, this just doesn't look very pleasant to me. So I don't really have like a strict rule on market cap, but it's the same kind of thing where, like, I discretionarily look at the intraday and I'm like, do we have these thin moves? If so, then I probably want to avoid them. Something like XNet, I don't know what the float is on this, but I don't have any of those candles. Like, it trades tight enough. I can see what market cap is on it. 60 million shares outstanding on XNet. Floats 30 mil, outstanding shares 60 mil. So, I don't know. I don't really have a strict rule. How much weed do you smoke for a day? I've never smoked, never done any drugs, never had a sip of alcohol, never done any of it. Sorry to disappoint. Was wondering that. Reminded me of Serve a while back. Maybe something like this day maybe. Yeah, similar setup. I see what you mean. Yeah, low, like a small spread, yeah. Is that more determined by like a float to volume ratio, or just observing price action, getting a feel for it? Yeah, it probably is. I'd say it is like a volume to float thing. And depending how much paper they've got, like if they got a ton of dilution, if they've got like a 5 mil float, but they've got like an open S1 that they can dump another 5 mil into it, they're going to double the float. And if the volume's not rotating enough, then it could kind of act thicker. But it definitely is like a volume to float thing more than like a market cap thing. Because you can have small market caps if the stock is like 20 cents and it's got like 100 million shares outstanding. Then it's a smaller market cap. 20 cents on 100 mil is like a 20 mil market cap. But you could have like a $2 name with a 10 mil float, and that's like a 10 mil or 20 mil market cap. But the shares outstanding are completely different, like 100 mil versus 10 mil. So I think it is more a volume and float thing. But like I say, I don't I look at float and stuff every once in a while, but typically I can kind of tell how liquid a name is and what kind of float range it is just based on how it trades. Like Tanya, I could tell you is not super thin. Just, yeah, we've got some little rangy candles, but they don't. It's not like swipes. Like, it only moves like a few cents. We haven't seen a really low float runner in a while. When's the next black swan? Yeah. Well, you need people to get comfortable. Like, you need these gappers to just fade. Gap and fade, gap and fade, gap and fade, gap and fade. You can't have names like this because then shorts lose and they get timid on the next ones. Starboard bought 8.5 million shares last Thursday. Much better PFE upgrades here Sunday. You sound too smart for me. I don't look at much of that stuff. Sorry. So, as far as a watch list tomorrow, I've got like, I don't know, 7 positions on, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So these solar names are just too far gone at this point. No real plans on those. These nuclear names are just they're a bit too range bound and choppy for me to really get a big trade in on them. I was hoping that they would set up a bit better, so I probably don't really need to trade those much either. So those sector ideas are kind of off the books. BTI, gap and fail, right into a prior level. That's cool. Topped out right there at high day. Boop. Core weave back under 100. Too bad it didn't consolidate some more. EQ, I'm swinging that one. Jobby, I'm swinging that one. MSTR, I need this to lose these 358s. But I don't hate, like, I took a super small loss on it today. Like less than half an R because I was sized versus risk on highs. So I don't hate this little inside day, but ideally we get one more inside day and then we get that little breakdown 358s. Navini, I'm still in there. Ideally starts to break 70 soon. Tesla, I'm still swinging that one. Big picture thesis there. X4, that failed. No need to watch that. Cat, try not to jump the gun if that 407's break down. APLD, I'm still swinging that one. Don't even think I finished my scans yet. Microsoft, I'm still swinging that one. SNGX, who cares? Use, I'm still swinging that one. XNet, possible first red day. Tanya, open. XNet and Tanya, I'd hope that they continue higher, gap up, parabolic. Let me finish my couple scans here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Benny's back in the 40 cents. My God. This is Mullen. Just getting smoked. BTOG. That one's rolling over. Yeah. Yeah, a comma would help. That's hilarious. Use a comma or something. I'm trying to read it, I can't. Yeah. Wouldn't be doing so much concrete. Oh, what was that? If you can't finish school, you finish concrete, I think is what the saying was. You ever heard that one? Not a ton on that list there. Meh, boring. Boring scans. So XNet, I think I'd be more in favor. Like, I'd trade this one tomorrow over Tanya. Tanya is not even close to a setup. Like, it needs to run for another day or two. XNet, the 4 EMA is down like sub 7, basically filling this gap. So I think that there is room. Let's see what kind of trend break we could find. High day, pulls back a couple minutes. Sets his low right off the open on that day. This one here pulled back, set its low, popped. Opening range breakdown, which is not what I want to see. Especially if I'm looking for a gap up. So I'd really like this to go one more day. 450 to like 880, or just about at that 100% move. I just don't know if it has the juice. Like, the range on this candle is like the same as this when it bounced the next day. Same as here. And then it bounced the next day. So the range on this candle is getting close to like mean reversion range for this name. I just don't love it, but not sure. Are you looking for a move similar to 224 on MSTR? 224, this little breakdown. You get that 305 breakdown and whoosh. Yeah, so if I got that 358 breakdown, I'd be like whoosh and look for it to pull back. The 200 moving average is right at like 353, so it might have a bit more support there. But if it loses that 200, I think it should get smacked pretty damn hard. I love yelling stay in school, kids. Joke is, I have a degree. I don't want to tell them that all roads lead to slinging. Yes, I also went to university and found out that in construction I can make more of all of those professors. And that was why I left. That's why I stayed with it, because you make way more. It's such a dying breed, construction. There's just no one getting into it, so you're just busy beyond belief, and there's so much work. GDRX, any thoughts? Not really. Looks like a one-day runner. No real pattern there on the daily for me to trade. No real opinion. Yeah, so it looks like XNet would be like the only real day trade I've got idea-wise for tomorrow. If this were to gap up over 9, I might look for like an opening range breakdown, failed fall-through setup. Ideally, it just kind of a slight gap up and just runs for another day. Just at some point, it's getting a bit ahead of itself. So it's probably the only day trade idea I've got. EQ swinging, Jobby swinging, Navini swinging, Tesla swinging, APLD swinging, Microsoft swinging, Use swinging. Got way too many positions. This is ridiculous. Yeah, cool, thanks. Sorry. I'm not one to like act like I know what's going on in every stock at any point, so I'm not going to try and talk out of the side of my face if I have no educated thought on that. Sorry. APLD, yeah, that one's looking good. Nice strong close. Finally closed over those 15s. Hopefully we can get a move like this, even if it consolidates for one more day. I will try to be patient. Alrighty guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Good chit chat, appreciate the comments. I will see you guys in Investors Underground tomorrow. Before I forget, I put a link down in the description. The part 2 of my BTheStory interview got released today. So I put part 1 and part 2 down in the description if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, without further ado, yeah, stay in school. Alrighty, guys, take it easy, and I will catch you guys in the room. Peace.